Hello and welcome to a video on heating a koi pond again. So this video isn't going to be telling you that you should or shouldn't heat your koi pond. This one is going to be telling you sort of about the heaters and what sort of different heaters do for different jobs. So obviously it's winter, obviously these fish, by wanting a lot of food, are quite warm. I don't recommend heating ponds like this. It just costs a fortune. I've got no other choice. I would like to I just want to keep them from freezing in a tank like this. Obviously I've tried to insulate it and I will put some more insulation around it. But I want to talk about different types of heaters. So I use these heaters a lot, and it's the cheapest sort of analog heater you can get. It's just, you've got like a little dial on it and you set that to whatever temperature you want. Now, these heaters are they're pretty good. They're cheap and cheerful little heaters, and I think probably every pond should have one. It would be a good thing to have on your pond. And if you just set it to like 5 degrees, something like that, then for that really cold winter, every probably 3 winters, it'll probably come on and just stop your pipes from freezing, stop your fish from having any trouble, and just make your life a little bit easier. Especially last year, which was a particularly cold winter. If a lot of people have had these on, they'd have saved a lot of money from pipe bursts and draining ponds and all sorts of stuff like that. It is a good thing to have, just as a little bit of insurance. However, for heating your pond, I don't particularly recommend a heater that has got one of these thermostats on it for heating your pond. Now, you can use it for stopping your pond dropping below 12 degrees, stuff like that. But even then it can be a bit problematic. So this pond, I really just want to stop it dropping below 12 degrees. The weather's been freezing for the last week or so, and then today it's come up to 11 degrees overnight, and it's quite warm out. So the heater on this pond, which is actually hiding back here, I'll get a closer look at that in a bit. So the heater on this pond is just using that analog gauge because I wanted to see how well it worked, and I've put a digital controller on it so I can see the temperature. And obviously the pond's at 20 degrees right now, which isn't really very good. The pond last week was maintaining 15, so I wanted to see if it could maintain a good temperature, and it does maintain. It's a 2 kilowatt heater and it maintains a good temperature in this tank, but it was on all the time. It literally weren't turning off. And then when the weather's come up again tonight, it has, the thermostat in it's got a bit sticky from being on for a bit and all that, and it's brought the temperature up to 20 degrees, which isn't ideal. I don't like temperature fluctuations in a pond. The real reason I want the heater on is to stop the temperature from jumping up and down with the weather. If I hadn't got a heater on last week, I mean this tank here that we just looked at, this heater's not on, there's no fish in this tank, and that went down to 2 degrees last week, and as you see, it's still full of water, it's still pumping just to stop it from freezing and that. That went down to 2 degrees, but then now, in fact, I'll have a look. See, now it's at 11, I don't know if you can see that, 11.1 degrees. I'll turn that back off because I don't want the heater on. So it's gone up from 2 degrees to 11.1 in a short space of time, pretty much 2 days. So that's not ideal, and that's why I want the heater on this tank, because I don't want it going all the way down to 2 degrees, and then I don't want it jumping up to 11.1 a couple of days later. It's not ideal, but at the same time it's not ideal being 15 degrees and then jumping up to 20, although that wouldn't be quite as detrimental. Obviously if you've got your pond sat in a satin floor, ground level pond, these are quite exposed to all elements. I mean, any wind gets on that and it just starts to chill it pretty quickly, so that's why these have dropped so cold. So it's a bit of an extreme case, but if you want to heat your pond, what I'm saying, so if you want to keep your pond at 15 degrees like I do with this, you really need a heater with a digital thermostat. There's no way around it. If you want to keep fry, it needs to be a heater with a digital thermostat. I know these are cheap heaters, but I know of even electro heaters that are a bit of a pain in the neck with the analog thermostat on. So I really recommend getting a digital one. So this particular one, these controllers that I get, you've seen them in a few videos, probably I'll link them in the description or something like that, why not? So these heaters, this basically what I'm going to do with this, it's got a thermostat that runs down here and kicks into the side of the tank to steal it, and then all I'm going to do is put an power output to that where the heater just plugs straight into it, and then you know, I can just set the dial on the heater to 40 degrees, and then when this thing wants to turn it on, it'll turn the heater on, and that'll keep me temperatures perfect. The other one that I've got round here, this one that I've got here is actually controlled by that setup there, which you've also seen me install, and that one's a little bit more complicated. It utilises some of the features inside this heater, and that's why there's two cables coming out in it, one that powers it and one that does the little signal thing, but there's another video on that one as well. Yeah, I just wanted to say that so I've manually turned this heater off, by the way, as well. So it got to 20 degrees and I've seen it, and I've manually switched the heater down. So it was set to 15, I've manually just turned it down so I can hear it click inside, and I'm just going to keep an eye on it. But I do need to set it up with this digital controller, and then all my heaters are on digital controllers, and I ain't got to think about it again. So the lower the temperature, the more you'll get away with an analog heater. I did used to use an analog heater on this pond for a very short while, and I realised that just weren't happening at all. So this tank with the fry tank, it is kept at 26 degrees, and this digital heater keeps it so accurately. It literally stays between 25.8 and 25.9 or 26. I've never seen it go to 25.7, and I've never seen it go to 26.1. It is absolutely flawless, that particular heater controller, and it is just running lovely on this tank, and that's what I love. Just keeping the temperature absolutely steady is such a big deal with fry. You know, it could make them a lot happier fish, and these ones are doing quite well. And these ones have grown insanely well this year. There's some lovely big fish in there, but they are nutty as well, they can really eat. Let's give them something to eat, give some food in. Go. Yeah, really happy little fish, especially at 26 degrees. Just to say, I don't know if 26 degrees is really necessary. I wouldn't actually recommend it, because at 26 degrees your water quality has got to be perfect, like absolutely incredibly spot on. And also it's quite, you know, this is a 1 kilowatt heater, so it's a little bit better, but it is on quite a lot. I think it's probably on half of the day, and it's an indoor tank. So I'm not worried, because it's an indoor tank, the waste heat basically eats the room up, which is ideal. But you know, if you've got it outside, you might struggle to keep at them sort of temperatures. It's a bit unnecessary. If you want fry to really grow okay, between 21 and 23 or 4, you know, they'll grow insanely well at that. But at 26, I just feel like they're absolutely bulletproof for me. Since I've ever kept my fry at 26 degrees, I literally barely have any die. They just get through everything. It's really good. But the thing is, if you had any ammonia in your pond at 26 degrees and that, they wouldn't do very good. But I've scared them a bit with camera. Let's go and have a look at the others. So this pond is my only not heated pond. I don't heat it. It does have an 8 kilowatt electro heater on it, but I refuse to turn that thing on. I'm not completely insane. So here we are with the electro heater in the basement. I absolutely love this heater. It's a great design. It's quite nice to use. I love the digital gauge on it. I don't use it actually because of the 8 kilowatt. It just uses too much power, and I don't particularly need it on my main pond. You know, we're what, in middle of winter now, and it's not actually 19 degrees, it's 18. But that's one of the problems I do have with these, is that even though it's a digital gauge, it's not exactly accurate on the temperature of the pond. If you want accurate water temperature readings, you actually need to put the thermostat in the pond, physically in it. And that's what the advantage of the other one is. I'd love it if a little wire came out of here and went into the pond. It'd just be perfect. The only disadvantage of that is if that little probe falls out of the pond, your heater's going to stick on, because it'll never manage to heat the air up. So that's one thing you've got to really be careful of. If you've got a little probe that sticks in your pond, that probe never needs to come out of the water. However, one of the things you get with these, so if you get one of these sort of things, ideally they need to be in like a little filter house or something like that. All heaters really shouldn't be outside, just because they're affected quite a lot by the ambient temperature of the outside. You're best off wrapping them up in a bag and stuff like that. They can be outside, they are waterproof. It just is better for them if they are actually protected from the elements a little bit. And again, the digital heater, there's another advantage to it. Because with the analog heaters, you might, on a good one for example, you might drop, say if you set it to 20 degrees, it might come on at about 19 and turn off at about 21. That'd be a pretty good analog gauge really, to be honest. The issue is with that is that when it gets to 19 degrees, it comes on and heats your pond all the way up to 21. That's a lot of power. That's a lot of heating it's got to do all in one go, and you find that, you know, you've come up 1 degree higher than you actually wanted to. So at that point you've used a lot of electricity that you didn't need to. With a digital one, they're a lot more accurate. So even though this isn't the exact temperature of the pond, it's still pretty accurate, and I can still set this to 20 and it'll bring it to like almost 20, you know what I mean? So it is accurate, just in its own little way. But what you'll get is this will say if I've set it to 19, it'd come on at 18.8 or something like that, and then heat it up to 19. So there's only a 0.2 degree difference. I'm not heating it any more than I need to, and the pond is not dropping any more than I want it to, and that is just unbelievable how much electricity that can save. So if you're wanting to keep a pond at like 15 degrees, especially with anything like 2 or 3 kilowatts, not a leak, but just ignore that. But anything like 2 or 3 kilowatts, if you're wanting to keep a pond at 15 degrees, you will save a lot of money just by having a digital gauge on it. Just not bringing, you know, the tighter margins you can get on the actual heating cycle, the more money you will save on the heating bills. It is quite dramatic. So there we go. Let's go and have a look at the fish again. I've actually found something interesting with these. I've always said they fight a lot and they're quite aggressive with food. I started feeding them 3mm pellets, and obviously they're quite big fish, so 3mm pellets quite small for them, but it just seems to calm them down a little bit. They seem a lot calmer, and the water temperature is still 18 degrees. So obviously, I mean, I know I say it's not heated, it's sort of heated by the air temperature of the building, keeps it warm, and the good insulation. But yeah, it's not actually physically heated. I'd let it, if it went cooler than that, I would let it go cooler. It should drop to about 14 or 15 depending on how cold a winter we have. But yeah, the 3mm pellet seems to have really calmed them down a bit. They're doing great, they're quite happy. So I hope you liked this video. Any questions or comments, then please put them down below. If you liked it, then please like it, and I shall see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.